What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Scotty Talks NBA. I'm your host at Scotty Drowned, is where you can find me on Twitter. You can find my co-host here at Zak Noble on Twitter as well. He is the host of the All Things NBA podcast that will be linked in the description of this video. While you're here on the channel, be sure to subscribe, hit that subscribe button, like the video, and help us grow this community. But nonetheless, we are here on a fine Thursday. Before we get started here, we're obviously going to get into all the pettiness, the drama that's going to, that's been going on around the NBA. But before we get started here, I just wanted to ask you, Zach, how's your day going, my man? Because I know it's been a busy week. We finally got the link up today after a little bit of action last night in the NBA. How are you feeling today, man?
I'm feeling good. Minnesota's going to get a heat wave pushing 50 degrees today. The weather always makes me feel good, but caught some breaks with car stuff. Bad breaks turned into good breaks. Bad beats turned into good beats. It's all good.
I feel that.
Yeah, no, it's been a up and down week, but I'm feeling good. Staying in the right mindset.
I love to hear it, man. Yeah, I know how the car trouble goes, man. It's like the worst
Most
kind.
people do. That's
because
one thing
it affects
inevitable.
It affects everything. You can't get anywhere without your car. Like, that's the worst part. You can't get to work. You can't get to the grocery store. Nothing.
Sounded like Zion trying to say I'm trying to say inevitable. How did he say that?
Zion.
I don't know. That was more robotic.
Oh man, way to start the show, Zach. I appreciate it. Let's start from the top here, man. Before we get into the whole Draymond situation, I want to start from the top because Giannis gave us a whole news situation last night that we can discuss. But it starts with that 140-126 win for the Bucks over the Pacers. Obviously, getting a little bit of revenge back for that in-season tournament. Eastern Conference bracket rematch. So the Bucks get a little bit of revenge there. Giannis goes for 64 points in this one, 14 rebounds, 20 for 28 from the field, 24 for 32 from the free throw line, 4 steals and a block. But the big story here, Zach, comes after the game regarding, Giannis wanting his game ball for his 64-point performance. The Pacers staff apparently grabbed the ball as soon as the game ended for their rookie Oscar that they wanted to give to him for scoring his first 2 points in the NBA in his NBA career. But let's start at the top, Zach. The 64-point performance. What did you think of that? Obviously, it's a big feat in this day and age, even in a regular season matchup on a fine Wednesday. It's still 64 points. It's pretty amazing, man.
Yeah, I mean, Giannis has become a controversial figure, which is kind of funny. I mean, people care so much about these players' personalities these days, and nobody likes everything about anybody. Let's just get that out of the way. I mean, yes, personality is what makes these guys great. I care about personalities because that's who I'm drawn to as players too. But I definitely loved Giannis's personality coming out of the gates, coming into this league, chip on his shoulder, just seemed like a blue collar guy, fit Milwaukee perfectly, dog, and that old school mentality. I mean, he's definitely gotten soft and gets a little too exasperated on some things, but yeah, I mean, his pettiness is fitting and perfect for this league, what have you. I mean,
that is a good point. Yes. You need honestly, guys with that type of personality.
Very few players in this league have like a flawless personality. Besides, we're both lucky to have one on our team, and Tyrese Maxey and Anthony Edwards. I mean, Maxey even more so than Ant. I mean, there's very few personalities that cross off every box. I mean, fun going, easygoing personality. They prop up their teammates. Got a dog in them. They come up in big moments. They do it all. But thing with Giannis last night, honestly, it was one of the I'm gonna dog on it. I'm gonna be that guy. Giannis is one of my favorite players. I like him more than most people. I have his shoes. That's who I hoop in. I'm a diehard Giannis guy. I watched the entire thing from the jump. Giannis had like the least impressive 64-point game I've ever seen. He's had 30-point games that are way more impressive than that.
More impressive.
It's not Giannis's fault, okay?
Yeah.
This is a huge kudos to Giannis that he can have a 30-point game. That's way more impressive than what he did last night. And what I mean by that is competition, who he's doing it against, how he did it, a variety of ways, having his back. Like last night, like his spin moves, dominant dunks, like they were on Ben Shepherd half the time. They were on Obi Toppin, who is a very, very poor defender, and just guys are hedging the wrong way. Jumping up and passing, like they're doing elementary stuff.
They are one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA
of all time. Right? Okay, mind you, Tyrese Maxey had his 50-piece, his career high against him. That looked great because it's the first time Tyrese has ever done it, and he's a small guard, and it's how he did it. So nothing against Tyrese's 50-burger, and bias aside, okay, I like Giannis just as much as I like Tyrese Maxey. I watched both in the entire thing. Go back and watch 32 free throws, and you can say, like, that has something to do with the game of physicality and play. No, it doesn't. The fouls were really soft.
And I think to put your point in perspective from just a biased Sixers fan perspective, I would go as far to say that Tyrese Maxey's 50 points looks a lot prettier sometimes than even Joel Embiid's 50-point games, right? Like the way you score it can look a lot better just because he is a smaller guard. He's quicker. He gets in the lane, finishes at the rim, maybe hits a few more threes than, like a bigger guy would do. So when you're just watching Giannis, steadily go into the lane, dunk, or get fouled and go to the free throw line, I do get your point there. Now, I didn't watch the whole thing like you did to have that perspective per se, but I can definitely get where you're coming from.
It wasn't peak Miles Turner defense either. Miles Turner was like, they just came out of the gates pretty poor from Pacers' behalf. I mean, it was pretty sluggish. Like Dame even came out slow. Chris Middleton, the game. And Giannis had a dominant first half. Like he took advantage of them when they came out slow in the first half. And then it was the late second. I really thought the Pacers played a little better. Early third, and they made it a bit of a game. But I also want to note Dame lied to those kids. That's a really bad look for Damian Lillard. Yes, he stole some money from me last night, and I want that back. But he lied to those kids, those poor Christmas kids. They got to go to the game, but he said, you don't throw out, we're going to get our lick back, and then just walk up the court half the time and then just hand off the ball to Giannis. You got to go. Like Damian Lillard's been pretty bad all year, and this team, Chris Middleton's coming around.
I did want to ask you. Coming around. I wanted to ask you how much of the 64 points, and I don't want this to sound incorrect or like a hater, but how much of it was kind of agenda driven, as it was like, Dame, give Giannis the ball so he can go score this amount? Like, was it more like that? Or was it just the fact that Giannis was getting the ball, he was getting rebounds, and he's doing whatever he wants out there on the court? Like, obviously a little bit of both has to happen, but do you think it was like during the huddle in the timeout, like, get Giannis the ball and get him as many points as they can get?
It turned that way once Giannis hit like 46 or 48. So the rest, which is fine if the game was close and they were actually playing defense. The Pacers weren't playing defense. They had their G League squad out there half the time. And it just, they didn't even, no, it was really easy. And yes, no matter any big point explosion, everything's going to be ran through them. It wasn't strong defense. The other team wasn't playing harder. I love, though, Tyrese Halliburton at the end of the game not giving much props to Giannis, and it was all about, hey, we've won our 2 games. We dominated 2. They wanted their revenge. They came out, so they got one. I mean, kudos to them for getting one. I love that.
That's showing that. I like that personality.
Peak deflection and understanding that you got to hold your own and make sure that you're not getting flying under the radar for being a piss poor performance, which it was, in front of your home crowd that you invited 2,000 people to. Where were you, Tyrese?
Yeah, fair enough, man. Because he did. He had a few turnovers in this game. Still had 22 points, but definitely not up to the standard that he's been playing at this season. When you look at what transpired after the game, how do you feel all of that was handled? How do you feel that Giannis handled that? Like, I get it. I do get it. Like, as much as I think Giannis was acting like a little bit of a brat last night after the game myself, I do get it. It's a 64-point performance. It's going down in history as one of the best scoring performances, at least numbers wise, ever, right? And so to that point, it's a game on a Wednesday night in the middle of the regular season. He wants to take the ball home, whatever, right? He wants to give it to his kid, whatever he wants to do with that ball. I just didn't feel that it was like worth getting like into a physical altercation or like, cursing out the other team or the other, officials from the other staff. So how did you feel generally about this whole situation that transpired? The NBA's turned it into a fucking reality show at this point, my man.
Hey, I've been saying it since 2018. It's the male version of the Kardashians.
I love it.
This clip is my favorite part of it. Giannis right here.
I really don't know. I don't know. I have the ball, but I don't know if it's a game ball. It doesn't feel like a game ball to me. It's like a brand new ball.
It feels like a brand new ball. It doesn't feel like the ball I scored 64 with. And Wob put it perfectly that just the events of it from 12 minutes of it. Go watch it. Rob Perez. Just you'll laugh for 12 minutes straight. Just lays it out step by step. That's where it comes down to Giannis's personality or whatnot. I love that this is a budding rivalry, and that's what I gained from this. I mean, there was a lot of physicality last night. Kudos to the refs not kicking Obi Toppin and Aaron Nesmith out last night. Yeah. Everybody remained in the game, which didn't matter. The Pacers still sucked. But still, that's an improvement from kicking Jokic out for dropping an MF,
Yeah.
And just one technical foul, keep it moving. Unless we're smacking dudes in nuts and faces like Draymond, then we can get them out of the league. But with that said, I mean, Giannis, I understand. You want this ball. He has a ritual. He gives every game ball to his mom. Shout out to his dad. I mean, he writes things on him.
I did not know that. So that's good.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. Don't blame him. I mean, he wanted that ball. The security guard got the ball. It's going to be funny to figure out what ball Giannis has. I mean,
yeah,
we will know once the security guard that went and got the original ball, the right ball, because nobody knows what happened to that ball, if he handed it to Giannis's family or whatnot.
Once it goes into that locker room,
that was the one mystery Wob left out. Yeah.
They might not even know. Like, once the ball is in the Pacers locker room, they might not even know which ball is the ball from the game. You know what I mean? Like, so do you think the Pacers were wrong for this, like taking that ball?
I love pettiness. I really do. But Oscar, what's more valuable, your first point in the NBA or your 64th point in one game? That's a great debate. I would say the 64 for sure. But Oscar Tshiebwe also scored in the in-season tournament final game. That was his real first, but it doesn't register. It doesn't count as your regular season statistics. That's the funny petty twist there of all of it. He's actually scored a bucket, but this is his first real bucket.
Yeah, that's funny, man. That's funny.
But
that makes it even more reasonable for Giannis to get the ball. I think it was just a little bit of an overreaction, but you add in the backstory, it does make it a little bit more sense. It makes a little bit more sense that he reacted, a little bit more aggressive about it, just because.
I love how his brother acted on the bench too.
Yeah, his brother. Oh man, and you talked about Jokic the other night, so I wanted to bring this up. Obviously, the technicals and how they're distributed in the NBA these days. I mean, that was one of the more ridiculous ones that I've seen this season. There's been a few more. I can't think of any off the top of my head. I know there was a few just last week. where guys are kind of getting ejected or getting technical fouls for certain looks that they're giving on their face, certain facial expressions. It feels a little bit ridiculous in that sense, from Nikola Jokic's standpoint. You talked about earlier how he dropped the. Was it ever confirmed what he did say to the referee?
Yeah, he called him a mofo.
Really?
Which definitely is hurtful. But I mean, players, I'm sure they say that all the time. It's just how the ref's feeling in that moment, and what else.
Jokic saying that. Why
But
not just
it
say
didn't
it
sound like it
30
was that derogatory. But I mean, I can't like picture that moment. I do recall saying it didn't seem like it was that angry of an MF. But here's the thing. It's not worth two technicals at once.
Two technicals at once.
Tell them you're hurting my feelings, and like they're not coming to. Fans aren't paying all this money to come to the game to watch these referees, and that's what drives me nuts.
Exactly.
You're gonna like. It's a physical game. This is a competitive game. Blood's boiling. You're gonna get swearing. Like this is what happens. Like this coming into it. This has been for the history of the game. Tell the player to try to be kind, be nice. I tell my son this every day. Yes, but this is heat in the moment. Like I'll be preaching to my son. He can drop that when he gets to that. Like I don't care. Jokic is known as a good guy too.
Yeah, exactly. And it just feels like referees take things too personal sometimes, man, and get like
they just make it about themselves. They want some fame, man. And it's
like
not
you'll see these referees making a call like whenever something gets challenged or reviewed, they'll be on the screen like giving a review like in a sassy tone, like being sarcastic with it. It really blows my mind. And Giannis is actually the other one that I was like thinking of but couldn't remember. Giannis, whenever he stared somebody down, got kicked out of a game earlier this season as well. And
that's
it's just like
Wallace that started that mean mugging, but Rasheed Wallace is different though. I mean, he earned that reputation, and I get it if you're just staring down a ref to threaten them. But don't do two technicals at once. One being the warning. Don't stare at me. Nobody wants to be threatened on their job. Treat the refs like an adult. Swear at them all you want, but read the room a little bit too.
Yeah, you got to read their mood, what they're allowing. It does come down to that.
People have bad days.
Maybe Jokic. Maybe Jokic was, complaining and cursing, for a little while there before that. I wasn't watching the game to say whether or not that was happening, but very early on in that game, he gets tossed and
you give him a warning, and then the second warning's the first technical foul, and then you give him another one if it keeps going and it's hurting your feelings too much. It's just poor guys. Come on, you know what you signed up for. Don't make it about you. I mean, seriously.
Exactly.
My biggest thing is never two technicals at once. Never.
Yeah, that's the one. Unless it's like a violent altercation or a fight or something, obviously, then you're going to kick somebody out immediately. But usually that would be like a flagrant, level 2, and then you're kicking them out. So it's like, it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. But you mentioned somebody. You mentioned Rasheed Wallace, and it brought somebody else to mind that's been in the news lately as well, because he seems to have a similar track record, at least by the amount of ejections that he's faced in his career, and that's Draymond Green, man. He gets caught up again the other night against the Phoenix Suns, gets caught up in an altercation with Yusuf Nurkic. Ends up, swinging his arm around, elbowing him, hitting him in the face. Nurkic definitely sells it a little bit, but he definitely got clobbered across his head. I won't take that away from him at all. Draymond Green, gave a little bit of an explanation, a little bit of an apology after the game, basically saying that he, didn't do it on purpose. He was selling the call. Nurkic was kind of holding him, and he swung his arms, kind of flailed to sell the call, and accidentally hit him in the face. But when you have a track record like Draymond Green, it's hard to take those words and feel that he means them wholeheartedly or that he didn't have any type of intention to hit Nurkic. Now, I'm not saying that he did, just saying with that track record, there's strong indications that he could have. 19 ejections in Draymond's career, just got suspended indefinitely. Apparently, he's working with the league to figure out what steps he needs to take to get back in the league. What are your thoughts on Draymond Green? This whole Warriors debacle, it feels like they're kind of falling apart right now. Thoughts on this situation in general, man? There's a lot to get through here, I feel.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it as short and sweet as possible. I mean, I wish it was the 80s. I wish we could fist fight and Nurkic could fight back, but they're not allowed to do that. Players can't defend themselves. So that's why you can't physically hurt somebody. And with TV and all these kids watching, times have changed. People grow. I mean, it makes sense. So the NBA can be a little soft at times, but
absolutely,
these are cheap shots. Okay, this is Draymond Green's world, and it's crazy how this keeps happening over and over and over again. You feel bad for Joe Dumars, who is like a father figure to Draymond. He grew up with him in Michigan, and he's the one having to discipline him. And all the guys around him, he makes their life so hard, and to love him, because
got guys like Iguodala in the NBA PA.
You got it. Iguodala's in the panel for making these decisions too, and it's like they got to protect their other friends out in this league too. I mean, every European in this league's on watch right now. If Draymond steps on the floor, he's coming for them all.
I saw a tweet about that too.
It's pretty good. Did you see the Draymond? Did you see the Draymond tweet where he goes, "Big bro, let me get those courtside tickets. Got some time on my hands."
I did not see that, man.
It was a troll tweet from a parody account, but so many people got because it was Draymond's profile. It was so perfect.
That's hilarious, man.
We haven't got a podcast, so maybe he's listening a little bit yet. But man, indefinite is a huge thing. It could be a long time, or it could be just a game or so. I like the fact that they're making it about getting help, like mental instability. He hasn't recovered from that punch last year, and no matter how you cut this thing, it's like there's intention behind it, because you don't do a 360 and connect like that. I mean, it's so funny though. After every press conference, Draymond takes no accountability and tries to throw it back. And it was a natural body movement or a basketball play. And finally, Steve Kerr's not backing him up, which is great. You feel for Steph and Clay throughout this, but with or without Draymond, I don't think it really matters. The Warriors suck. They're not toast right now. I do like that Steve Kerr finally, after all these years of needing Jonathan Kuminga, is finally unleashing him, and he's been incredible. Jonathan Kuminga is becoming the real deal, and it's great to see. So he could save a lot of things. Dario Saric is having a resurgence. This is one of Steph's best benches ever yet. Clay, Wiggins, Steph is playing different. And Steph is playing different, but Clay, Dre's been decent when he plays, but he doesn't play. Clay and Wiggins have been terrible, absolutely terrible, and Chris Paul is whatever. So I don't know how you save this team without unloading every single pick you have. I think you want to hang on to Steph Curry. I mean, you should. I mean, he doesn't want to go anywhere. So you need to do something, because this team, no matter how good Jonathan Kuminga gets, I think he's still a year or so away from being anything really special. But what's available out there is Zach LaVine and Pascal Siakam. Yes, those are upgrades from Klay Thompson and Andrew Wiggins. They are. OG Anunoby, absolutely. But are they enough to get you title contention? I think so, if you get a couple of them.
OG Anunoby is interesting. I do like that fit there. If you could kind of just replace Andrew Wiggins with him, That's interesting. Pascal Siakam would be interesting as well, especially if Draymond's going to miss like big time. I think the fit without Draymond would be pretty good there as
How
well.
funny would it be to trade like Clay or Wiggins for Jordan Poole and Kuzma? Run it back, get Dre out of there too.
That would be hilarious, man. But I do like what you said, about the way this is being kind of framed about getting Draymond help. And you heard Nurkic after the game as well, after the altercation, saying there's got to be something wrong with that guy. Like, I don't know what his problem is. But yeah, man, I think this is a bigger problem than what it should be, right? At this point with Draymond, you would think that he would have learned his lesson by now. And the simple fact that you just can't do things like that, especially with that reputation. The same thing happens for guys like Patrick Beverley. Any little gesture, any little extra movement, he's going to get attacked. There's guys with that reputation around the league, so they need to know how to operate. How long do you think he should be suspended from the league? Like, he just came off a 5-game suspension for the last thing with, choking out Rudy Gobert. Where do you go? Like, do you go to the next level? Do you go like Ja type suspension, 25 games, or like is it just dependent on the treatment that he receives? Like, would you just go with that? Like, I just don't know.
I want to know the total of how many games he's been suspended over his career. I think that would play a factor for me. But
yeah.
I mean, definitely get him treatment, whatever that looks like here. Maybe just a change of scenery too. I mean, I don't know, man. I think maybe it's running its course, even though Steph loves the guy. But
that's what I was wondering.
He's
like, how long
frustrated
before the Warriors are
maybe
just
he's
completely
frustrated with Clay and Wiggins. I mean, they need to do something. It's time.
Yeah.
It's run its course. Even though they did win one without KD, but Wiggins was amazing, and he's not there anymore. Wiggins disappeared into the atmosphere somewhere.
He doesn't even look like
I don't know, man.
Basketball.
They gotta make some changes there, and
they got a lot of young pieces there that they've been kind of alternating through. But yeah, I think you're right. In order to get where they want to get to with Steph Curry, right? I
mean, I could be cool with 5 games. I could be cool with 10. I mean, I could be cool with a lot of different scenarios. But I mean,
I think the bigger thing, like you said, is just getting him help.
Yep.
Like, if he needs anger management, whatever the case may be, right? If he's got some anger issues he's going through, he needs to get a little bit of help there. But yeah, I would say, 10, 15. I mean, double, triple the first penalty. I think that would be fair, I guess. I don't know what's fair. Like, if you deem that he did that on purpose, right? Like, I don't know if they even go through, those hula hoops of like, did he do it on purpose? Let's analyze the play over and over. I don't know how that works about when they're talking about it, but nonetheless, plenty of drama around the league, man. And that's what we started the show with, drama. That's literally half of the show is about the pettiness and drama around the NBA right now. And you have Ja Morant returning soon, so that will add to the drama and the reality show that we have going here. But I want to switch directions and talk about some of the conference standings in each conference right now. And I got 3 questions that I'm gonna throw to you. I have my answers as well, but these are of course off the top of the head questions for you. And it's just regarding the current standings. So I'll start with the Eastern Conference here, and we'll just go through both conferences with each question. But in the Eastern Conference, looking at the standings right now, about 1 through 12, maybe if you want to include the Chicago Bulls, maybe you don't. They're 9 and 16 right now, I believe. Who are the biggest pretenders in each conference? So we would be looking up towards the top of the Eastern Conference in this case. Who do you think are the biggest pretenders up, north of the 6 and 7 seed?
Biggest pretenders. So
when I think
Orlando's the biggest.
Yeah.
Indiana's a big one. So I mean, 3, 5.
Yeah, Orlando.
Yeah,
So,
everything else,
Orlando just
everything else,
dropped
like their position,
below
everything else, their
Milwaukee.
position, I think is real. Their standing is very real. But I would say Orlando and Indiana are the two biggest pretenders, or being opposite issues though. Orlando for their offense and
In Indiana for
Indiana
the
for the defense.
defense. Yeah, fair enough. And out of those teams, which one would you side with the most? Like out of the Pacers, would you rather have the defensive issues or would you rather have the offensive issues?
Whew, that's a great question. I would go Orlando just because I believe their offense is getting better and will get better. Where Indiana, I don't believe their defense. Yeah. I do like though that Indiana has the best player by a decent margin.
Yeah, that is fair.
So that matters, especially in the playoffs.
Yeah, so I did select the Pacers and the Magic as well as my two teams at the top here. But I tend to go with the Pacers just because of the defensive liabilities, right? Like I feel like those are harder to fix once playoff time kicks in, and things get a little more serious and physical. What about the Western Conference? Looking at the top there, who do you think? Some teams that come to mind for me personally are the Dallas Mavericks and the Sacramento Kings. But obviously you could go the OKC route. They're a little young. Minnesota, your own squad, right? Do you believe in them? Obviously, Ant Edwards coming back from that little hip injury that he had, trying to get back into it. Obviously, Cat playing really well. Which route would you go there? The Lakers looked really good in the end-season tournament. Can they keep that level of play up throughout a regular season? I don't know, but it does make them scary in the playoffs, I feel. Who would you say are the biggest pretenders there?
Yeah, I mean, I want to give a shout out Memphis at 14. I mean, they're still playing way better than the 14 seed and 6 and 17. They just might be too far back.
Yeah, to catch that.
Maybe if they can win one of these next games before Ja gets back and they can go on a big run, they
How long
could
is
be.
Marcus Smart out?
Let's see. I got it up right here. He's ready soon.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah.
Day to day.
Yeah.
Day to day.
That'll help
pretenders,
too.
Though, I would say from their seeding, like Minnesota, again, they can finish as the 1 seed. I just don't think we're a championship contender yet. So, I mean, you can say we're a little bit of pretender. OKC is same areas Minnesota. I would just say OKC, if they could somehow get like a Clint Capella or some sort of big to go next to Chet, I just keep buying into OKC. I love everything they got going. Their coaching,
only thing
camaraderie.
against them is their youth. That really feels like all you can count against them.
Right, but I mean, Chet is so polished beyond his years right now. He's just clutch and stoic. And Jalen's, I mean, he's third year. But Shea, man, he's a vet and he's freaking good. He's amazing. Yeah. I still think the Lakers, I mean, I'm torn. I said from the beginning they were basically a true contender, but just a tier down. It's just LeBron in the playoffs last year really disappointed me. I thought they were great at times, and then when it mattered the most in the fourth quarter, he just got tired again multiple times, and that's why they lost. And I think until I see him do it in the playoffs again, it's going to be hard for me. I mean, Anthony Davis needs to be healthy. Austin, everybody's playing pretty good right now, though, on the team. Like
Austin Reeves to the bench worked out really well.
Yeah, but it's still just pretty individualistic to me. They're playing slightly better by the day. It's just a lot of isolation stuff, and doesn't seem as fluid as it could be. I would love for them to. I don't know the move, but Zach LaVine just rumored he wants to go there. I think, if you replaced him and D'Lo, I think things changed dramatically.
Absolutely,
because their play style. That's what I like. I mean, production-wise, it might not be a ton different, but I think how they're getting their buckets and how they fit. I think that's what would change dramatically. The Clippers, man, nobody's talking about them. Nobody. And they're playing so freaking good. So freaking good. They're 12-3 right now on a run. Kawhi is back to a top 5 player right now over his last 3-4 games. He looked terrible to start the year, and that was my biggest hesitancies. And that's why Harden and PG slowed down a little bit, because he was so terrible and the integration was terrible. It's all been about Kawhi. Harden, I mean, just grew with Kawhi, really. And once they figured out their pairing, Paul George fits with anybody. And it's so pathetic, these ESPN guys, how they want this narrative of these guys to be injury prone. They don't want to be wrong from the offseason and their 0-5 takes. And these guys have been absolutely phenomenal. It's, what is it, a 3-4 game winning streak right now? 5 games. Yeah. And 7-3 last game. There, shout out Ty Lue, man. I was dogging on him. That's the part I was dogging on. But I mean, I still think he needs to figure out Kobe Brown. That's the piece that him and Bones Highland. I think those are the two issues. He's not playing properly right now. Russell Westbrook could get a few more minutes, but I think he's been integrated very well. I think.
Is there any team that you think should take a flyer on PJ Tucker?
It's a big contract, man. It depends if they buy him out. Then everybody should, sure. Like, it's one of those things. It's like, it's not going to hurt you. I mean, I'd like him back in Milwaukee. They need a boost on defense. Maybe he can help them because
that contract,
Giannis and Bobby Portis and Chris Middleton's getting his legs back and do the work that PJ can't. And PJ can just be physical and be a hustler where they need him, because they do need a boost like that in Milwaukee. I mean, Boston still needs a boost on their bench. Miami's not perfect by any means, even though Miami's one of their strengths is their depth is decent. It's the upside for me, the high end talent, where Miami is lacking right now. So there's plenty of places. PJ Tucker, those would be the top that come to mind.
Contenders.
Yeah, I mean, what about you? I mean, New York Knicks maybe, but like, they need a lot more than PJ Tucker.
They need more, in my opinion. And I do think the big talking point is the contract. I think if he could get bought out, it would open a lot of different doors for them, right?
I still think there's room for PJ and the Clippers to play, but they don't need him. They absolutely don't need him.
What about the Mavericks?
Yeah, but their depth is youth, and that's what's going to help their upside. I mean, it's okay. I mean, Dante,
like you're not playing him over Grant Williams per se, right? Like, so
you would do that?
No, I'm saying you're not. So it's like it wouldn't.
Yeah.
No. No, Grant Williams is actually a player I really like. I actually wanted him on the Sixers. But yeah,
like, I'm not playing PJ above like 12 guys on that team. So
yeah, I think that's fair.
And they got guys still growing towards the end of that bench.
I guess I was thinking from like a gritty, physical standpoint, like what team could use a little bit of an uptick. But no, you're
Clippers.
Right.
There's not very many better places for him than the Clippers.
He sounds done there, though, man. He sounds like he's done with the they're playing for him. And it sounds like Ty Lue's done with, playing him. So it is interesting.
Because they're not like to put a prayer on these guys making it through the whole season of Kawhi and PG just being healthy. Knock on wood. I mean, I'd love to see. Everybody wants 1 year, but like a 5-10 game stretch, like you need a deeper bench.
Yeah, gotta have the guys there.
Don't know how they're getting it. So I mean, Milwaukee's the spot, even though they have a decent bench. Marjon Beauchamp. I mean,
it's like, do you want to take?
I don't know, PJ. I don't know. You should go fight Ty Lue for minutes.
Yeah,
go get an advocate in house.
Because like I don't know. It's like you want to find like a better fit for like what is the better fit? There is really no like better fit for him in a rotation. It's just a matter of wanting to play him or not. But staying in the Western Conference, there, the team right above the Clippers, the Houston Rockets. Do you see them being able to hang around? Like, what have you seen from them early on this season? As far as their chances to maybe not hang around at the 7th seed, maybe they hang around in a play-in spot per se.
All right, by net rating, the 5 best teams right now in the league: Celtics 1, Bucks starting 5-2, the Clippers 3. Then you got the Houston Rockets. Okay,
wow, number 4.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, that matters to me. It's their bench that's not so great. But Jalen Green has to be so much better for them. They need to figure that. Like, you got people in Houston land willing to drop Jalen Green to like the 8th man, and they want to trade this guy. I mean, he's been bad. He's trending closer like a J.R. Smith type player.
That's a good comparison, actually.
Minus maybe JR could play even a little better defense, but Lou Williams type guy. I mean, not looking good. That's not a starter that this team needs. I mean, depends how good Jabari Smith gets. And Fred VanVleet's still very inconsistent. It's just they got enough guys that are good enough and show up at the right time. And their defense has been incredible. And it's continuing. They need shooting. They still can make the playoffs just because they have enough. That's why it was nice they went out and got those 2 guys. And you still have a ton of depth in Amon Thompson, and Cam Whitmore hasn't even played, can keep coming. So they got so much upside that's untapped there yet that you can only believe in those guys. Denver hasn't looked like world beaters. Yeah, Denver hasn't looked like world beaters, but I mean, I'm not worried about them at all. They don't need to. They just need to coast. Right. They'll turn it on. Mainly it's been Jamal Murray.
How do you feel about the Kings?
How do you feel about the Kings? Because I don't feel good about
the Kings. They're just the Kings. They're just kind of there for me. I don't know. Like I don't know, man. Because you see in my picks, we do like the daily picks each night, and you see I pick the Kings. I feel like fairly often.
You do.
So it's like I trust them in the regular season to at least cover their spreads, but I don't know. They're kind of like the Pacers to me. I don't know. They just are there. They've got like good qualities to their team. They'll give you a challenge, but like in the end, I just don't see them there at the top. Like that's kind of how I feel about them. De'Aaron Fox, obviously amazing. I think they got pieces there, right? Malik Monk off the bench. Kevin Huerter's a great shooter. They're just missing something else, like an elite wing, I think is what they're missing. A guy like OG Anunoby or a Pascal Siakam maybe, right, could help them as well. But how do you get a guy like that? What are you trading to get a guy like that? I don't know what they would be willing to give up.
One of the scariest things I've ever heard.
Middle of the pack team.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what they are. They're a good regular season team. They could be great. They're not great right now, but they're just a good middle of the pack team. One of the scariest things I've heard recently is someone thinks Keegan Murray's in line to get a max contract, and I'm like,
wow,
are you kidding me? 1, watch the guy play. He looks like a tertiary role player, but 2, his stats, are pathetic. 41 from the field, 30 from 3. He's declined drastically. He's a decent defender. I mean, I'm not willing because he should be a more valuable part of their defense. I mean, sure, it's growing.
Shouldn't be a weak link of it, though.
Yeah, well, he's not a weak link. It just doesn't necessarily show up consistently for the team results, you can say. But like one-on-one, decent defender. He can hold his own, but it just doesn't result to
max contract. That's interesting.
Man, I'm not paying that guy more than like 20 right now. But yeah, that would be that'd be a great guy to trade for.
To trade,
a role player. It's like I don't like the Siakam Sabonis fit at all.
Yeah.
OG would be incredible anywhere. I say that all the time. Every team needs OG.
I love him for him.
3-and-D at his core, as peak for sure. But
you could go Levine and just go complete, splash from your backcourt, right? I don't know if that's going to help him defensively, but
I don't get much.
Go complete offense if you wanted to there.
Give me Costco version and Malik Monk, Zach LaVine.
Fair enough. Fair Costco version.
Sam's Club.
That is hilarious, man. I'm interested. I'm going to have to take a look at that because I'm actually interested to see what the Kings could do to get better. Like, what could they do to get better? Because they're a good team.
They need defense, man. That's it.
They need defense, yeah.
And honestly, I mean,
defensive.
Yes, you'd love to keep some
center to match with
anywhere. Absolutely anywhere. Mainly ideally not a 2. Ideally not a 2 guard. That defense is not going to make that much of an impact. Maybe by 3 through 5 defensively. And I would be willing to explore Sabonis trades. I would. Not ideally. I mean, not the goal here. I'd rather find somebody that fits with him. But he might have a cap to him unless it's a perfectly designed roster. I mean, he might be one of those guys. And that's fine. It is what he is. I mean, Julius Randle needs a perfectly designed roster. Many players do. But it ain't it on their team. But Sacramento fans should be happy. They have a consistent, good team that's going to be in the playoffs again, probably.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
it's a fun team too. It's a very fun team.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's fair. And I guess, just looking at the bottom here, obviously the Golden State Warriors, you'd never want to count them out, but like we talked about it earlier.
Oh, they're
out.
Do
you see them getting back into the picture here? Like, you think they're out? You think they're done?
Oh, I think they're so done. And it's, to me, like, yeah, everybody loves to put the blame on Clay and Wiggins, but I truly do not like the way Steph plays with these guys. And it's like Kuminga would be getting better. I've always believed in Kuminga. I've always been high on him. I think he'd be getting better with or without Steph in any of these guys. Like, he's out chasing stats to me. It's just not within the team confines. He looks discouraged. Looks like he doesn't believe in this roster. I truly believe that.
Too much. Is that kind of what
I'd
you
love
feel?
for him to prove me wrong.
Do you feel like he's just like doing too much offensively? Like, is that what you mean when you say
he's
not playing the right way? Like, I guess for me, man, I don't understand how a guy like Steph Curry, who draws so much attention, can't average over 5 assists. Like, I don't understand how that's not more of a focus to get, other guys involved off the attention that he draws. But I don't know. It is
my point exactly.
It is a little weird. Do you think it'll ever get to the point where Steph would want out of Golden State? Like, is that what it's heading towards? Or do you think that he's going to be?
I mean, I think he would
to kind of not rebuild, but retool. Maybe you don't sign Klay Thompson back this offseason. Maybe you just let him walk, right? Like, is he going to be open? Like, I don't know. Obviously, we can't predict guys' mentality towards those type of things, but I don't know. It feels like Steph is a Golden State lifer, but you just never know.
I mean,
where your competitive spirit takes you if things are going south. Like, I don't know. It's weird.
This team has players that can be traded. They can be moved, but you want to get something for Clay, but maybe you don't. Maybe you just let him walk and just tell him you're not going to sign him unless he wants to come back and be a bench player, a role player this offseason. Steph's not willing to make that move. He's just going to probably have to live in misery the rest of this year. And hopefully he doesn't make that decision this offseason and the front office goes above him. But I doubt it. I think it's going to be completely in Steph's hands what they want to do with Clay. I think he'll easily say get rid of Wiggins. I think that.
Yeah.
I don't think they're that close.
Clay's his guy, though.
Yeah, he needs to save himself, though. I'd love to see it, but I'm not going to feel bad for him, though, because he could tell him right now, get rid of him.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they would very quickly. I mean, you got to be brain dead to not know this thing is toast right now.
Yeah, I feel you. I really do, man. Are they the most surprising slow start that you've seen to start this NBA season, or is there like another team that you have in mind as far as slow starts? The only other team that comes to mind for me, I mean, surprisingly, would be the Cleveland Cavaliers. Like, I thought that they would just come out and look a lot better. Now, there's been injuries like mixed in there, so I don't know how much. And they are still above 500. They're 13-11, so they're not that far down. But I just thought that they would be, one of the top 5 teams in the Eastern Conference. But I think the Warriors take the cake when it comes to like disappointing or surprising. I don't know. I guess I'm asking, are you surprised that they are, or that this is happening to this team, to this Warriors franchise? Like, I don't know. I guess it had to happen at some point. That
I'm surprised how quickly. Yeah, I'm surprised just how bad Clay and Wiggins have been.
Yeah, that decline
that's
crazy.
I mean,
the numbers are
like Wiggins is 28 years old, man. 28 years old.
Yeah,
Clay's only 33, even though Clay's been through a lot. Like Clay, I understand.
Some of his best basketball. Yeah, Clay's
been
coming
through
off
a lot, though.
injuries.
I mean,
he's older.
with injuries.
But I don't know, man. The Warriors are going nowhere fast, it feels like. But I don't know. Maybe they can do something to save their season, pull off a trade, something there. But yeah, it is interesting.
Phoenix?
Just looking at the. What'd you say?
How about Phoenix?
Phoenix is a team that I definitely think will get back into the conference. They're another team that's just had guys in and out of the lineup. So they just got to play some consistent basketball. Obviously, dropping a game to the Nets last night isn't the move there. But they gotta put together a few wins in a row. They're still above 500 as well. There looks like so they did drop to the 10 seed last night with that loss, but nonetheless, only a few games in between each team. I do think Phoenix gets into the playoffs. Like, you look at the West, it looks stacked, man, because you ask which teams are, pretenders. It's like, sure, you could say that OKC is pretenders. You could say Dallas are pretenders. You could say Sacramento, but that's just because we haven't seen it yet. It's not because those teams don't have a ton of talent. Like, the Oklahoma City Thunder have a ton of talent. They have an MVP candidate. They could be for real this season. Same thing with the Dallas Mavericks and Luka, right? So it's like if Phoenix is getting in or even getting up into the top, 5 seeds of the Western Conference, who are they replacing? Sacramento would be that team that I think will get replaced. But you have Phoenix, both LA teams. You have New Orleans down there. You have Houston, that are all trying to get up there, right? So there's a lot of competition for the Phoenix Suns to get back into the mix of the top seeds in the West, but they have about as good a chance as anybody down there, I would say. Yeah.
No, I'm with you. Call me crazy. I mean, you ask me who's gonna win the West if the playoffs started today, it would be Denver, the Clippers, and then Phoenix, and that's 3.
I'm glad you said 10. That. I was gonna ask you, out of like the Lakers, Clippers,
Denver's
Phoenix.
4.
Yeah, right now Denver is 4, but they're like what? Well, they're 4 games back, or 3.5 games back of Minnesota, but only 1 game back of.
It's tight, man. Like,
yeah,
Clippers
it's tight.
Are 8, and they're not far back.
Who do you think out of like the Clippers, the Lakers, and the Phoenix Suns, those teams that are in the bottom half of the standings, like who do you think out of them? I guess you listed them in order. So like the Clippers and then the Phoenix Suns, you think it'll kind of finish out like that?
I mean, the Clippers are playing the best basketball
they're playing right now
in the West right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
in the West. Yeah.
I mean,
interesting.
The entire West. I mean,
I guess I haven't paid attention enough to the Minnesota Timberwolves of late just to know what they're playing
Kawhi's
like.
in
Obviously, the
fully
record's great,
activated.
but
Yeah, Kawhi is fully freaking activated right now. Like peak Kawhi. Like it's beautiful basketball. Harden was on pace for a 50-50-90 year here coming up, and it could get to 20, 22 and 10 here. And it's amazing, man. This team
Kawhi
is
Leonard was
Norman
11 for
Powell.
14 the other night.
Yeah, Norman Powell is just playing that perfect role. And I've gotten a lot of shit on my show. I've said in the past, like, I think he's as good, if not better, than Tobias Harris. And people think I can be crazy at that at times, but like Norman Powell has done it in the playoffs, and he's been very good. I mean, he's always one of the most underrated guys. And
I think
it's just
sometimes
people get stuck in this
more.
normal Twitter days.
Like, I think that's one of those situations when you compare him to like Tobias Harris, it's one of those situations where like less is more. So it's like, I feel like Tobias Harris often gets caught up in the fact that he does have, a skill set where he can get his own shot, right? If he goes one-on-one, he can go to the post and get his own mid-range jumper. Like, he has these capabilities that maybe Norman Powell isn't so great at. Whereas Norman Powell knows, I'm here to hit threes, I'm here to, attack the rim, and I'm here to play defense. And I think when you have like that identity, I think it might make it a little bit easier for you on like a contender level team compared to Tobias Harris, who he can do a little bit of everything. He doesn't do one thing really great, right? And I think that's maybe the difference. Whereas Norman Powell's like a great 3-and-D guy. Where you can count on him as like that 6-man scoring punch. So I do get your point there as well, man. The Clippers definitely a team to keep an eye on. Which, going to our next segment, the spotlight segment to end the show here, my man. Just a team and a player, coach, whatever you're looking at around the league that you want to kind of shine the light on and put the attention on right now. Let's start with team coming out of those conference standing talks.
You go first in this one.
I got you. So I actually did go with the Oklahoma City Thunder in this case. Just looking at what they've done of late, we talked about, are they pretenders? Like I said, I think when you look at this team, they have like everything across the board covered. They could use a defensive-minded center. I do agree with what you said earlier. Just somebody to pair with Chet, but you got SGA, who for my money, is an MVP candidate right now. 30 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, 6 assists per game, 2.8 steals per game. So he gets in the passing lanes, 55, 34, 92 shooting splits. So I think he's an MVP candidate. I think Chet is probably leading the way for Rookie of the Year right now. 17 points per game, 8 rebounds, 2.5 blocks, 52, 38, 88 splits. They got 6 guys averaging double figures right now. Isaiah Joe is a guy that's really come to on that bench. It's a guy I'm really missing in Philadelphia because that would be another really nice shooting piece off the bench, but he's been lights out for them. They're 7-3 in their last 10, 15-7 in the on the season, second in the Western Conference. They have a plus 7.6 point differential, which I know before the action yesterday was number 1 in the Western Conference, but just wanted to shine that light on them. Obviously, they're going to continue to get attention throughout the rest of this season if they can keep this play up, but definitely a team that I'm keeping my eye on just to see how they finish this season out and, see if they can make their mark in the playoffs, even at such a young, as such a young group of talent there.
No, I like that a lot. OKC, man, I think they're going to fight for that 1 seed. They play hard every night, and it's crazy. Like Isaiah Joe, Kaysen Wallace, guys I wouldn't have thought to make an impact this early on in a team like this deep.
I agree, man.
And they have. Mark Daigneault has done a tremendous job. The splits on this team, they have 6 guys averaging 10 plus. Okay. And then 7 guys averaging 7 plus. Like, this team is so deep. and they just keep throwing guys out there and make a difference. It's quite wild. Even with Giddey's struggles at times, they keep winning and making an impact. And you think a guy that is that integral to the team and that much usage and that many minutes would kind of detract from what they're doing. It hasn't. So I would still love to see more Chet Jalen, big Jalen minutes.
Yeah, I agree. I like that.
Other than that, I want to see him. I want to see him make a move. Like I said, a guy like Clint Capella. I don't know really who else out there. Even like a Vucevic, maybe. Not ideal, but I mean, I think it could be interesting. Him and Chet. I think there's something there, and they have plenty of pieces to give to Chicago that would make them happy. There's a move for these guys that could expedite this whole process and make it really
propel them a little bit further. I do agree. I think they're just missing maybe one more piece to call them like true contenders, right? And make sure that they can get to the finish line there. But they're definitely ahead of schedule for my money, either way. But they could definitely speed it up a good bit. But yeah, that's why I did want to shine a light on them a little bit. I haven't talked about them much this season, so definitely a team I'm going to keep my eye on there,
man. Yeah, so I'll just keep highlighting a little more, going from SGA, the third or fourth best isolation scorer right now, to Harden, who's been a top 2 isolation scorer. It's incredible, man, that nobody's talking about these guys. It's just shows how hated they are. And it's
man.
Wild. Nobody wants.
You know how I feel about Harden, but he is playing good basketball right now, man. It is crazy. It's funny you say that because the agenda drives the conversation, right? That's where that conversation goes.
Yep, and they whether it's a variety of reasons, there's so many out there that people come up with and whatnot, but I just like talking about what's good. They're 6-1 right now, and Harden 20, basically 50, 49, 90, 68 true shooting percentage, 9 assists, 3 stocks. Like, his defense has been incredible 80% of the time. Even saved a game with his defense. The 3 guys, their last 12 games, or not including the last one, Kawhi's up to like 26, 22 for PG and 17 for Harden in those splits. I do think those splits need to be a little higher. I think they need a little more offensive output. And I want to see 70 points between them versus closer to 60 right there. That's kind of my magic number for them. And then throwing Russ with 10 to 15. We're also seeing, as of right now, this is a plus 12.7 on the year, and it's even higher. That was an update on before last game. Kawhi and PG together. Like, they are very, 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 very good together. And things aren't slowing down, man. Things aren't slowing down. I just hope they stay healthy and we see this thing play out. Why not? Like, why not talk about them? Because what's not to like about them outside of people hate Harden? They're what's great. It's like people not talking about the Bucks last couple of years when they've been so good. I do think the Sixers still fly under the radar, even though people love talking about Embiid and Maxey. They're entertaining guys and sexy gameplay. I mean, Kawhi and PG, and you can maybe even throw Harden in there. I disagree. I love the way they all play. But Kawhi, a lot of people have realized, is such an isolation guy. And that's why it took so long, not so long. That's hilarious to say that. 5 games. It literally took 5 games and to integrate them. But people don't want to.
It's a do it now type of world we live in. Yeah.
Right.
And I think part of it as well is that not just that their games might be like not pleasant for a casual to watch, I guess you could say. Like if you don't appreciate the intricacies of basketball, maybe you don't enjoy a Kawhi Leonard or a PG as much as like the next guy. Maybe Kawhi doesn't show enough emotion for people out there, right? Like maybe that's what it is. But I also think it could be something along the lines of, them just playing late games. And if they're not winning like every single game, then all you're going to see when you wake up on the East Coast is that the Clippers lost and this happened and the plus minus. Like, you know what I mean? So I think that could get caught up in the conversation as well, because I do agree. I think it's good that you shine the light on the Clippers here. Because the only people that I do see talking about the Clippers is like Dime Dropper. If you know him from Twitter. He's like one of the only few guys that I see, and he goes to every single Clippers game. So of course he's going to talk to Clippers. He's a diehard fan, but I just don't think that that's the way it should be. It should be talked about a lot more. Just given the talent that they have on the team, they have top talent in the NBA as far across the board, right? So I do like your point with the basketball that they're playing right now. And kind of the way, two wings can balance out Harden in a starting lineup, 2 dominant wings like Kawhi and PG. This team is dangerous. Like this is not a team that you would want to play, in the Western Conference playoffs. Like I do feel that way about that team. So we'll have to, once again, keep continuing to keep an eye on the Clippers. I know you are, but I'll definitely pay more attention myself. Just given the tear that they're on, man. 5-game winning streak, 7-3 in their last 10.
41, 34, 31 for Kawhi. I mean, last 3 games, it's
last
a pleasure
3
to
games
watch.
are insane. Yeah, they're insane, man. I saw he was like 11 for 14 in the previous matchup. I think that was with the Kings the other night, Tuesday night.
And Zubac had the worst
34,
hands.
41.
He's had the worst hands in the league for so long, and now Harden's making his hands look like gold. It's pretty cool.
Harden does have that capability. He can make your big man look really good. Obviously, we saw that with Joel Embiid to the fullest extent, but even a guy like Zubac, he should be able to help there. Taking it in a different direction. So not a player that I'm gonna shine a light on right now, but I'm actually gonna focus on Adam Silver right now, because I feel like he has a lot going on. He has a lot on his plate right now. Obviously you have the Draymond Green suspension come out yesterday. That's indefinitely. I'm interested to see how not only Adam Silver but the entire NBA PA how they all deal with this situation and how it plays out. On the other side of things, the good news, right, was that the in-season tournament was awesome. I thought that worked out really great. I thought that we got to see some really competitive basketball up until the end of it. I think that's where you started to see like the separation between teams. But it was really good as far as like the start, and especially whenever you were in the group stages where you had some games on Tuesdays and Fridays that just kind of meant more, right? You were playing for something on those nights. So I thought that the in-season tournament was a hit. But now you have the Draymond Green situation. You have the Josh Giddey situation. You have the Miles Bridges situation in Charlotte where he's back playing basketball. And then you have John Morant returning from his suspension in the upcoming weeks. So just a lot going on in the grand scheme of the NBA, but off the court, if that makes sense. So I think it'll be interesting to just see how the NBA reality show plays out over the next few weeks. And over, across this entire season, man, we got a long season to go here.
Yeah, no, it's going to be special. Can't wait to talk about it as it plays out here. And I hope these surprise teams keep showing up, and I hope we keep seeing greatness out of these top dogs as well. I do want to see some trades, though. I need a trade.
I feel that
Shot into my arm.
We're almost to January, so that means like contracts will start opening up and be eligible to trade. Maybe some different guys. I think it's actually towards like the end of December, like where legitimately guys become available to trade. So hopefully, just for entertainment purposes, hopefully we see some trades down the line here. I do want like the Sixers. I want them to make a trade, man. We got a lot of depth. I don't want to deplete it by any means, but I think like draft compensation and a player or two for a good piece to actually fit in and be part of the starting lineup would be really good for them. So that's my perspective. I want to see a trade as well, man. There's like people talking about Marcus Morris, how great he's been as like a leader. I'm just sitting there like, we got plenty of forwards. So I don't know. He might be one, but the way Tobias is playing as well, he's definitely up on the chopping block, man. But yeah, I'm with you. I need to see some trades.
I like the way Rocco and Marcus are growing, though. I think they're trending the right way. I truly believe they could be those pieces. I mean, if you got anywhere close to peak Morris, like 90% of them, 95% of them, I think he could be the missing link. I really do. That would entail him getting 20 minutes ish. He's only at 12.8 right now, and getting rid of some of Paul Reed's, and
he was off to a really slow start when he got here. I guess because he didn't play at all when he was on the Clippers. Yep. But yeah, he is starting to get an uptick in minutes. It looks like over 15 minutes in 3 out of the last 4 out of the last 5 actually. So yeah, it seems like actually Rocco's getting kind of moved out of the rotation a little bit, and Marcus Morris is getting that uptick a little bit.
He's got way more upside than Rocco. I mean, the shooting, the scoring. I mean, even I think he's just an all around. I mean, he is an all around better player at his peak, but defensively, even what Rocco gets credit for is his defense and hustle, and I think Marcus just is more skilled in that manner when he wants to lock in.
Yeah. And this is a situation where this should be a place where he wants to lock in, right?
Oh, this is last. I mean, he's on his last legs in the NBA, to be honest. I mean, unless he really pops off here.
How did you feel about him saying that? I believe it was him saying that Embiid is the best player he's ever played with.
I'm fine with it. I mean, it's basically young Tatum. It's
versus Tatum versus Kawhi versus
Kawhi. So
Kawhi, yeah.
The Kawhi version he played with is definitely better in the playoffs, but I mean, no, you can say Embiid. Yeah, you can easily say Embiid. I'm cool with that.
The way he's playing right now, especially if this is all that you've ever seen playing with Embiid, like the way he's moving the ball. Yeah,
not something I need to get too into the weeds on. It's
I feel you.
Embiid's so damn good right now, man.
That is something. The reason I haven't brought that up as much, honestly, he is playing at an MVP level by all means. The reason I haven't brought it up, they are in the midst of an easier part of the schedule, so I do want to see him come out and do it against good opponents. Maybe not 40 points in 3 quarters, but I want to see him come out, rebound the ball with energy, share the ball against these better opponents like the Bucks, like the Celtics, the top of the Eastern Conference, the top of the West. So those are the games that I'm really looking forward to seeing him prove that he's actually, improved his game. From what I've seen so far, he definitely has, and Nick Nurse has had a great impact on him. But you got to see it play out. I have seen a few moments this season against the Celtics, right, where he kind of craps the bed. I know he was a little sick, but there's no excuses, man. Not in Philadelphia.
So I'm usually not a schedule person. I try to make that very clear. It's, 82 games. I mean, if you play a lot of games, but like when it comes to Embiid, he misses a lot of games. So, I mean, who he's playing against matter, and he hasn't been great in the playoffs. So it matters. And if you go back and look, I mean, like last year, for instance, he had plenty of good games against great teams,
signature games,
but still some of his best. I mean, like his best game last year was against Utah. They're just
Chicago.
pretty blah. Like he's had this year, it's crazy. Like Philly's had the easiest schedule known to man. That's why I think they're due for a little regression, but I wouldn't be surprised if they just kept it up. Like, I think if y'all were to put money on it, I'd say Philadelphia keeps getting better because I think the bench is getting better. I think they're getting better on how to play with each other. And so that's why I don't worry about the schedule. They're handling business right now. They've lost a couple games they shouldn't have. But yeah, Embiid doing great things against great teams is what we need to see for sure.
Yeah.
Everybody else I'm not worried about. It comes down to him.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it is one of those things where it's no matter what the conversation is around Embiid, you're always going to have a few people, if not the majority, that's going to say, we'll do it in the playoffs. And I think that is fair at this point. You got the MVP.
But we're not in the playoffs, so let's enjoy this,
Yeah, from Philadelphia fan perspective, I have to remind myself often. And early on in the season, I really was in such a funk, man. Just to be completely honest with you, I was in such a funk coming into this Sixers season that, like, I was watching these performances, and it would be against the Wizards, and I would be not hating on Embiid, but just not giving him any credit at all, honestly. And I think that was to a fault. I think you got to just appreciate, in the moment, what's happening, the greatness in front of you. And, probably won't ever get a talent like Embiid again in front of me, night to night on my favorite team. So you do have to appreciate it while also, remaining is holding them accountable as much as you can is what I'm trying to say. Holding your favorite teams accountable, but he is playing at an all-time level, man. And he looks, I think what has sold me of late is that he looks better. It's more fun to watch than it was last year, even in his MVP season. It's just a lot more fun to watch him spread the ball around, but he's still finding his places to get his shots. He's rebounding the ball a lot better. So it's nice to see that intensity. So yeah, hopefully he can keep it going. That's the big thing for me is like when you get to these matchups later in the month with like the Timberwolves are the best team that they're going to see the rest of this month. That's a game at home. I do want to see the Sixers take care of business. I want to see Embiid perform well against the Heat later on in the month in Miami. That might be a lot to ask on a random night in Miami in the regular season, but I would like to see him perform well and put up these really good numbers against the Heat. It's not about the numbers. It's about how they come out and how they're produced, but you get my point there. That's what I really want to see continue on with the Sixers and with Embiid, man. It'll be fun to see how it plays out. There's a lot of surprise teams around the league. I don't know if you want to call them surprises. There's just teams that haven't been here before, but they're at the top of the standings right now. And like you said earlier, I think it'll be interesting to see how these teams hang around. But that's going to be it for this episode of Scotty Talks NBA. I appreciate you hanging out here with me, Zach. Appreciate you answering all of my questions off the top of your head, joining me here each and every week. But guys, be sure to subscribe to Zach's podcast. The link will be in the description of this video. All things NBA. And of course, hit the subscribe button here on this channel. Like the video, help us grow the community. And give us a follow. The names are right there on the screen in front of you at Scotty Drown, at Zak Noble. Give us a follow on Twitter. That's going to be it for this episode, guys. Have a great rest of your day.